Hey again, guys. It's Ruben here. Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk a little hockey and my favorite player of all time, Mario Lemieux. Now, I know a lot of you guys don't collect hockey. You might watch it from time to time, but this guy was awesome. Everybody talks about Gretzky and Gordie Howe and a lot of the all-time greats, but this guy was it was crazy seeing the stuff that he would do on the ice. And he did save hockey for the city of Pittsburgh. So whenever the Penguins were established in 1967 as the expansion era happened, they didn't have a very, big pool of great players. And it was like that until about the mid 70s. And then the players that they started to develop turned out to, get a playoff series here or there. But the team wasn't very financially stable for many years in the early 80s. And they filed for bankruptcy, and the team was just terrible. So going into the 1984 draft, they were going to get the number one overall pick. And everybody knew that this guy, Lemieux, was just lighting up junior hockey, and he was going to be the first overall pick. And I believe that he didn't want to come to Pittsburgh because he knew about the situation there, and it wasn't going to be a organization that he was going to be able to thrive in. So whenever he came here, they didn't have a lot of stars around him. In fact, I don't think they had any. And he was the big marquee name that actually started drawing people to the arena. And they had to build around him. And it took him a while. And about his first 3 or 4 years, it was just him. Now, they would have some, decent players alongside him, but they weren't really contending for anything. And, they started to make some playoff runs and everything. And once they started kind of establishing themselves through the draft and through trades, then the team got really, really good. And they won 2 cups with him. And then he ended up getting 3 as an owner. So I'll give you a little history lesson here of what he did as a player. So he played for 17 years, and there were 2 different stints. He played from 84 to 97. He retired and then came back in 2000 to 2006. So he was injured a lot and had a lot of health issues during his playing career. So the first thing that they really figured out what was wrong with him is he had herniated discs in his back, and it was so bad that he couldn't bend down to tie his own skates. And, he had to have back surgery. And then that got infected, and it just prolonged his recovery time. And then he got diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma, which took him out for a good while, and he had to go through radiation therapy and everything. And he only played 915 games out of a possible 1,430. Okay, so there's basically 5 seasons from injury over his 17-year playing career that he missed from injury. And even only playing 915 games, he still scored 690 goals and had over 1,000 assists for 1,723. If he wouldn't have missed those 5 years, I figured it out that he probably would have scored about 770 more points, which would have given him almost 2,500 points. And that's still not even close to what Wayne Gretzky ended up with. It's pretty crazy. He was a 6-time scoring champ, 3-time MVP, 9-time All-Star, 2-time playoff MVP. Now, you got to remember, whenever he came in the league, Gretzky was dominating everything, and he was the first guy to really challenge Gretzky for any scoring titles or MVPs. And whenever he first started playing, Lemieux was one of the rare rookies that actually scored 100 points in a season. And he was the closest ever to come to getting close to Gretzky's numbers whenever he scored 199 points one year. And he didn't play the entire year. I think he missed like 6 or 7 games. So it's crazy. So we're here to show some cards. So hockey, whenever I was a kid, wasn't really as popular as it is nowadays. So the first card that I remember actually getting was the old Pro set. You know, you really didn't see hockey cards at gas stations. There weren't really any card stores around. I really started paying attention to hockey around 1987. And then in early 1988, whenever the Winter Olympics in Calgary came about, I really started watching a lot of hockey. And then, of course, I went and got myself a Nintendo, and I got ice hockey and Blades of Steel, and I really fell in love with it. And our local station would actually have some Penguin games on, and I would watch this stuff, and it's like crazy. And then we started playing like some floor hockey in gym class, and of course, I was like, dude, I love this stuff. Didn't have enough money to actually go and play hockey, like a lot of things, but I enjoy watching it. Next, we're going to have a 1987 O-Pee-Chee. So this would have been his 3rd year. I also have some like unique things. So this is a 1988 Frito-Lay's sticker, still in the cellophane that would be in the chips. I also have this rookie year 7-11. As you see, there was a set of 25. So basically, you'd have 2 players from each team represent. I think they called them credit cards, which I'm not sure. Next, we have the Esso All-Star Collection, which is a gas station up in Canada. Here's a cool jersey relic, the old Fleer Ultra. How about a 1989 O-Pee-Chee? The old 80s mullet hair in French and English. How about the old All-Star sticker? This is from 1985-86. You know, they would put these in the packs and ultimately end up on like a lunchbox or a mirror or something. How about the old Topps Gold? Everybody remembers the baseball ones. They did it for hockey and basketball too, and football, if I remember correctly. This is a Kodak card. As you see, it's perforated, so it came like a big sheet, and you'd have to take it apart. So they sold them like a big team sheet, and you could take them apart. Another early example of him. How about a Kraft Singles All-Star? I think some of these ones that you'll see that are in like the All-Star jerseys, they didn't have the rights to have them in their pro uniform, so they had them in the All-Star jerseys. think that was the anniversary, one of the anniversaries that the NHL had. Here's a couple Foodland issues that I have. Foodland is a grocery store here in the Pittsburgh area. And they would make little team sets. Have like little cartoons on the back, teaching kids about the sport. Oh, 1988 tops. Here's another one of those stickers. Top sticker. 1989. Here's another Kraft singles. It's hand cut. Got some stats on the back. Kind of reminds me of the starting lineup cards. There's a cool Topps Premier, the black golds. And of course, I gotta have the old Upper Deck award winners. I saw that Shane from Shoebox Legends had his Gretzky out, and I was like, oh, I'm going to have to do a Lemieux. It's kind of hard to get the perspective of how well the hologram technology was. But this is commemorating his playoff MVPs. Of course, I got to have the rookie. Here's the OPG. And here's the Topps. To me, the Topps version, the photo looks a little bit more bright and vibrant as opposed to the OPG. But there's the backs. But I'm not complaining. This is the only autograph I have of him, especially living back in the area here. Try to get any Lemieux or Crosby autograph, it's going to cost you. So I got this raw and sent it in to get authenticated. In about, I think it was 1993, he signed a contract with Leaf, and they had like a little Lemieux subset in there. These are out of 2000. And you could pull this auto from a pack. I think they did the next year also with Eric Lindros. There's another OPG from 1986. So I had mentioned earlier how he retired in 97 and then came back in 2000. He actually got named to the Hall of Fame in 1997. They waived the 3-year waiting period. And then whenever he came back to play, he was one of a handful of guys that ever had been inducted into the Hall of Fame and then resumed their playing career. Gordie Howe was one of them. Guy Lafleur was another. Here's a cool looking Pacific All-Star card. North America, the die cut on that. And he said that one of the reasons why he came back to play in 2000 is because he had a young son that was too little to remember him playing. And they were at the rink one day watching some game, and I think he asked his dad, "Hey, did you play?" And he was like, "What?" And so he sat out for a couple years and came back, and I mean, he immediately like started dominating like he never left the game. Here is a Fleer Ultra. This would have been his last year, 05-06. So he finished his career Sidney Crosby's rookie year. And he actually had Crosby stay with him at his house until he got kind of used to the NHL lifestyle and was able to move out on his own. Here's a cool looking Elite. I think these are numbered out of like 10,000 or something like that. Fleer Ultra. Some of the photography on those 90s cards were just outstanding. The way that they would color match like a name on the card, or just the way that they did them. So some of you guys know I'm a big Dick Perez nut. So not only did he do all the postcards, the Diamond Kings, he did Ice Kings. So these are like the Diamond Kings for hockey. And I have both iterations. I would love to have these things signed. All right, so there we have it. A little snapshot of one of the greatest hockey players of all time. I hope you learned something. Hope you kind of enjoyed it. Thanks for stopping by.